to Know Your Bible. And today we're going to study Genesis chapter 40. And here we're going to learn that Joseph can interpret dreams and also about judgment. I study online with Dr. Baruch Corman, and you can find him on loveisrael.org. In Genesis chapter 38, we left off with Joseph being thrown in prison by false accusations. So two men under Pharaoh have sinned, and they were put in prison. One was a chief baker, and the other a chief butler.
Verse 1-4. It came to pass that after these things that the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their lord the king of Egypt, and Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, the chief butler and the chief baker. So he put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison, the place where Joseph was confined. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them, so they were in custody for a while.
Pharaoh was very angry with his chief baker and chief butler, and so they were put in prison under guard in the same prison house where Joseph was. Potiphar knew Joseph very well, and he wanted his friends or colleagues, the chief butler and the chief baker, to be treated well. So he made sure that his friends would be in the same prison house with Joseph. God revealed himself to the chief baker and to the chief butler through dreams. God gave each one of them a dream.
Verse 5-8. Then the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, had a dream, both of them, each man's dream in one night, and each man's dream with his own interpretation. And Joseph came into them in the morning and looked at them, and saw that they were sad. So he said to Pharaoh's officers, who were with him in the custody of his lord's house, saying, Why do you look so sad today? And they said to him, We each had a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. So Joseph said to them, Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell them to me, please.
The chief baker and the chief butler, they both had a dream the same night, and it was very significant, and they knew that it had to have a great meaning.
Verse 9-15. Then the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, Behold, in my dream a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches. It was as though it budded, its bloom shot forth, and its cluster brought forth ripe grapes. Then Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them in Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said to him, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Now within 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your place, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand according to the former manner when you were his butler. But remember me when it is well with you, and please show kindness to me. Make mention of me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away from the land of the Hebrews, and also I have done nothing here, that they should put me into the dungeon.
God gave Joseph the gift of interpreting dreams that came from God. And so the two of them, the baker and the butler, were very stressed out about this significant dream. And so when Joseph interpreted the dream, the one, of course, the butler, was very happy to hear that it was good news. And so the baker, he was anxious to hear what the interpretation of his dream was going to be. Of course, when we read, we know that the baker was to be hanged, And of course, that must have stressed him out even much more.
Verse 16 to 19. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in my dream, and there were 3 white baskets on my head. In the uppermost basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, and the birds ate them out of the basket on my head. So Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head from you and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat your flesh from you.
So there are 2 aspects of judgment. One is vindication, and the other is condemnation. We can learn in this chapter also about judgment, that God will judge someone so that he can be restored, or he'll judge someone to be convicted.
Verse 20 to 23. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast for all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. Then he restored the chief butler to his butlership again, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chief butler did not remember Joseph, but forgot him.
Joseph submitted himself to God in every situation, and no matter how bad it looked, he never stopped praise and worshiping God and submitting himself to him. Here we can learn that when we submit ourselves to God, nothing will stop God from revealing his revelation. God says that all will be judged, and we have all sinned. Are we going to receive vindication and be under God's grace? I believe only when we submit to the Lord daily and we fulfill the mission that He's calling us to do, and that we follow His word and commandments. So here's a quote from Dr. Baruch Corman. He says, when God places a call upon your life and you are submitting to Him and moving towards it, no matter what is moving against you, God is able to fulfill what He has promised you and revealing to you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and please join me again next week as we study Genesis chapter 41. Until then, I just want to say God bless you all.